when we did the Blossom Festival, and that's the first and only event that I've done, we were not allowed to get out of our behind. I mean, we could kind of stand right in front, but we had a narrow area where people could sign petitions. And I'm telling you what, the booths next to us did not want you talking to people that went past our boundary. And they voiced that. So what I like, if you're in a situation like that, Roger had a great idea. He's maybe right in front of the table or behind, but he's saying, do you have just a minute and a half for us to tell you what we're doing? And that would get people, that would draw people in. So that I thought was a great point. I love learning that. I learned a lot from Maurice and Roger that day.
That's good. Good.
Thank you. All right. Have you ever had in your mind what was a colossal failure? And if so, what would you tell freshman DCs not to do?
This is almost parallel to what I said earlier, meeting with a representative. A year ago, we had a rally down at the state capitol, and I went from having two Republican representatives, senator and representative, to two liberals. And so I had a meeting set up with Senator Tammy Story, and I had 5 or 6 people that I contacted from my list that agreed to be there. Well, on the day of the meeting there, several of them just couldn't make it. And there were other people who showed up to the support of our effort that wanted to go into the meeting with me. And then 1 or 2 actually just glommed on at the very last minute. And so there was no preparation. And I wouldn't do that again because they started going outside their bounds. One particular person wasn't completely deferential to the senator's story, and there was sort of set an edge to the meeting. So I'm trying to get a one-on-one meeting with her now, but the lesson is meet the people beforehand, know them, meet them personally before you walk in there.
Gloria was district captain before she was in her existing role, and actually did it for a couple of times. And I think our biggest failures were trying to create special meetings outside of the normal flow of people. Having people in our home, having people other things, it just has not been nearly as effective. It's effective for training and getting to know each other and doing those types of things, but for really getting people to sign petitions, it's not effective. You need to participate in already organized events that have a high volume of people going through them.
So true. I had to put 4 homemade blueberry pies in the freezer because no one showed up. I know. Okay, have you been able to make any presentations at clubs or civic organizations? And if so, how do you feel they were received? Anybody? That may be.
Yeah, I've done quite a few, VFW, American Legion, Knights of Columbus, and others. Normally when I meet people like this, I get overwhelming support. I'm talking like 90% or better. In fact, at the American Legion, I would say 100%. And the lesson I've learned is that if you talk to individuals, they overwhelmingly support this, because they get it. You know, they know that the debt is a problem and the regulatory burden, etc. But whenever you get to them through an organization they belong to, and this includes political parties, organizations have their own reason for being. And this could be, I mean, anything you think of. Even the March of Dimes has a reason for being, and they have their own agenda. And but whenever you meet with organizations like that, you're going to find overwhelming support. One reason, well, the fact that they show up for the meetings show that they're concerned about something. And also I found out that most people in the American Legion, VFW, Knights of Columbus, all those are my age, and they've been around a while, and they vote religiously, and or regularly, I guess. And you find a lot of support there if you go to organizations like that.
Okay, good. Loretta.
This is Loretta Perry, and I would second this emotion. I go to an awful lot of meetings, and sometimes I put a little thing at the entry, ask them if I can, and it's plexiglass, and it just says quick things about convention estates. And I get to announce that I have that available, and please stop and talk to me about it if you have questions, or if you're ready to sign the petition, I'll take them now. And I don't get everybody every time. If I get 5, I'm delighted, and there'll be 5 the next time, and 5 the next time, and they'll realize you're not pushing them hard. And I wanted to say some of the worst things I've done. It passed real quick. And one of them is trying to tell everybody everything at once and not asking a question, because I'm so enthusiastic and I know those things, but they don't know. And so many of you have come up with good questions, and just to engage somebody first and find out where they are and what they're concerned about is much better than hitting them with everything we've got.
Excellent, very good. Okay. Tell us why you became a supporter of Convention of States, and I'd like to hear from every single person. Why did this appeal to you?
Well, am I on? I don't think so.
No, ma'am? Yep. The older I got, the more I realized that voting for a conservative candidate, was in this office or that office, local or federal, was not getting things turned around, was not effectively producing the results that I hope to see in government. And I have been really uneducated. I was one of those really uneducated people in school. I enjoyed civics and history and learned some, and learned that it was important to learn, but I kind of forgot it. And anyway, I voted, but that was about it. But my husband and I found ourselves watching Fox News and yelling at the TV a lot. How productive is that? And so we were listening to the Mandy Connell show. She's a radio talk show host from the Denver area. And she was interviewing the current state director of Convention of States at the time, and her name was Christy Cook. And man, this was the first we'd ever heard of Article 5 or Convention of States and what it was all about. And we just thought, here is something that can really be done and something that we can participate in. And so that's when we both just got online and signed the petition, and I volunteered. And
Accidentally volunteered.
But it is truly, I believe, the only legitimate, effective, peaceable means to reining in our federal government and taking back our governance.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
I'm Bonnie Shadrack. I've been a district captain since March. And I pretty much agree. I think we all will, you know. I can't remember where I heard about this. I think it might have been some interview with Mark Levin, maybe. I don't know. I wasn't a regular listener of his, and I wasn't political either. But I thought this seemed, once again, it's doable. There's like a map, an action plan, and it's more permanent. It's not one party. Like, you look at how the parties have switched in the last 10 years. You know, now the Republicans are for the working man and Democrats are elitists. So you can't plan on a party. You got to go with the Constitution.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Becky, and I have always loved history. I just always have. It just seems like a novel, but it doesn't always have a happy ending. But when I first heard of Convention of States, I believe it was on a Glenn Beck broadcast. And they were talking about whoever the representative was there, and I don't remember that at all. But it made absolute sense to me because we have gotten so far from what the intention was. You know, they have the intention, the letter of the law and the intention. Well, the intention is nowhere close to where we are now. So the more I looked into it, then I saw it online and I volunteered, and Maurice told me, "You're going to be a district captain." And I said, "Oh, okay."
Roger told me.
It was Roger's fault. And while I have the microphone, we are so fortunate to have Maurice and Roger.
Absolutely.
We absolutely would not be here today. We would not be strong today. We wouldn't, I mean, we're in what is pretty much a Democrat-run state at this point, and yet we still are strong. And I don't know how many thousands and thousands of miles they put on their cars, but it's pretty impressive. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I tried to jerk the microphone away from her before the plug for Maurice and Roger. I was too slow.
Their heads are swollen, they won't be able to get out the door now.
No, they are great leaders. It was either, I think it was maybe 4.5 years ago, I had something show up on my Facebook wall that was convention of states. I've always tried to be an informed voter, but I've never been active in political campaigning or the political process at all. But I've felt increasingly distant from politicians of both parties and have wanted to, for lack of a better word, strangle people on television, on news broadcasts, on whatever else, and politicians, because what they say to you versus what they go and do, you can't depend on what they say to you. And I don't know whether it's well intentioned or not well intentioned, but there hasn't seemed to be any accountability, and people that have the microphone, like we do up here now, can kind of say what we want, and on television I heard a lot of people saying what they wanted and wished that I could counter them, and never found a good vehicle for countering them. When this came up, I found what I thought was a good vehicle that had a lot of good guardrails around it so that it couldn't run amok, introduced Gloria to it, and then she kind of took the leadership role after that. But really glommed onto this because I feel like it's either this or it's revolution. And I hope we don't come to revolution, but if we do, I want to know I've done everything I could to avoid it.
Thank you.
I'm totally in concert with Deb's last words, that I see this as the last peaceful way of saving the Republic. I learned about Convention of States from Mark Levin's book, and prior to that I was despondent and even seething, wanting to yell and throw things at my television. And now that I know about Convention of States, it is a thing of beauty. Several times in my life I've discovered things that were in the Constitution that had always been there. And it leads me to believe that the founders were divinely inspired. Either that or they were the smartest people in the history of mankind. Anyway, that's why I do that. And to me it's crystalline pure, the background and reasons for Convention of States in Article 5.
Thank you.
I was very fortunate that my husband would go with me late at night to a meeting called the Great American Experiment, and Rob Nadelson was the speaker. That's when I signed on board, and so did my husband. He's terrific, and he's so empowered with enthusiasm, and you just, suddenly we had an answer where we could go and what we could do about the continual problems we have with our government, and that we could do something. It's so frustrating not to know what to do. Your voting doesn't seem to count, nothing seems to work, nobody listens, and now you have an organization and a group that you can work together, and it's marvelous to have you all here. And I've been through a whole bunch of leaders, and probably the very best event so far is this one. And before that was a really good rally. It was the second one I'd been at our Capitol, but that one really worked out thanks to you all, and I'm really pleased to be here.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. So I just want to echo what these good people have said about Convention of States. That's why I joined on as well, because I feel like it's the last pure thing left in the country to save it. And I also want to echo Rebecca's comments about Maurice and Roger. Maurice and Roger, if it weren't for you guys, this would not be where it is today. I mean, I will be at some funky little gun show in Cortez, and there's Maurice, and he's supporting us. I mean, it's amazing the personal leadership that we have in this organization. So let's give them a really extra big round of applause. And let's give a round of applause for our panelists. We are going to dismiss them. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll turn the time over back to Maurice.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, everybody. Listen, you know, it's a labor of love. So I appreciate, I'll speak for Roger too. He's going to come up here next anyway and speak. I really love doing this. I love doing it for the purpose and the cause and the objectives, but I love it probably more for the people. So you got me quiet. You're next. So I learned this from Melanie. She said, act. Melanie said, act. When you're up there, act. Don't be sincere. Okay, she told me that sincerity is what really matters, and if you can fake that, you've really got it made. So we have success because we have all of you, and we have a lot of other people who are not here today, who couldn't be here, people who just couldn't travel that far. They had conflicts. And our army is much bigger than the people in this room, and it's all really because of you guys and Grant. Everybody's doing his part, and I really appreciate your gratitude, but my gratitude goes back to you. I was sitting at lunch with Charlene, and she shared the sentiment that, you know, sometimes I feel like I don't really know what's the next thing I should do, and I'm a little unsure of myself sometimes, and I got inspired because she was at the Williamsburg Summit. I got inspired there that when I feel like that, I should just go do something. Okay, just do it. It's me. You know, there's no need to wait for somebody else to tell me to do something. You all know this is not a top-down organization. This is a grassroots organization. So when you feel like I don't know what to do next, just pick something. I've got an idea tonight. I think we have a few people who said they joined Grant, and my wife Jamie and some others for dinner. I know that Adith is coming, right? You have a guest coming too also, Adith? Okay. And Brad and Grant. Anyone else coming to dinner tonight? Oh, I'm sorry, the Popes. Oh, okay. And Greg and Sean. Okay, and Becky. Okay, good. I'm sorry?
You're buying dinner?
We are buying. Yeah, okay. There you go. Okay. All the hands are going. Okay, so somebody please remind me whose hands went up so I can reserve a big enough table. We're going to close out this wonderful event, and it's wonderful again because of Gloria. I mean, she did so much work on this. Unbelievable. With Roger, and he's going to tell us why he supports Convention of States. and then we'll have our surprise, and we all get to go home. Okay? Thank you very much.